It's golf time, and that means we're talking Florida Swing for the Arnold Palmer, and that is at Bay Hill, and this is a big money tournament, so we're real excited about this week. And we're going to kick off this show, first of all, though, by being pumped for getting off the schneid in a one and done, as Jared correctly picking Chris Kirk to win the Honda, and that was a tough. He put you through some hell, but at least he got the job done.
Yeah, I mean, that's what happens when you are coming down the stretch with a guy who hasn't won since I think it was like 2015 for Chris Kirk, and then a 34-year-old rookie who has obviously never won on the PGA Tour. So, you kind of figured it was going to go that way. But I mean, credit to Kirk for, one, at least saving the bogey on 18 originally, and then hitting that third shot in the playoff hole, which is spectacular.
Yeah, absolutely. No question. Don't understand what he was thinking there on 18 with a one-stroke lead. I don't know. This is why it's very important to have good caddies, though. Because it's your caddy's responsibility to say, dude, you sure you want to do this? You got a one-stroke lead. Just,
Yeah, it sure looked like he hit his correct starting line. He was just playing the draw, and it didn't draw.
Yeah, if you're going to play a draw...
The starting line's got to be the pin.
Yeah, but you can hit the ball in the damn sand, and you're still fine.
Exactly, yeah.
So the fact that he was... Yeah, you're right. Now, it did look like he was aiming in the general... That was a bad direction. What is he doing?
Yeah, he was starting it over the water and looking to look
that's
back.
Smart. Yeah, I'm going to start the ball over the water.
That ball was also 2 feet from being perfect. Because it just missed landing on the green, or at least, the rough, clearing the rocks, but it hit the rock wall. Almost hit the car in the middle of the lake.
Yeah, right.
Fun if it hit the car, but...
Well, yeah, those are just shots you make when you need something to happen, not when you have a one-stroke lead on a par 5. So... But look, we've seen crazier stuff. I saw the crazy ending in that European Tour event about a month or so ago. I don't know if you saw that one. The guy had like a 3-stroke lead or something like that on 18 and a par 5, and he hits the ball in the water, and then he had another bad shot or something like that, and then he hit that.
He hit it in the water twice.
Yeah, and then he hit that birdie putt. That was like 25 feet.
Well, it was a bogey putt, wasn't it?
Yeah,
I think it was like a 20-footer to save bogey, and then he won.
Yeah, and he won by 1. I mean, holy crap! Just like Kirk, made some bad plays, and then he saved himself.
It's a great finishing hole. 18 at PGA National. It's a great finishing hole because you can make eagle. You can also make bogey if you put it in the water.
So anyway, big win for Kirk. We get off the check mark, one and done. That's the first. Hopefully we'll be able to pick up on that this week. By the way, also, I look at before we move on. So Eric called. Not sure we're going to hear his name very often after this. Sometimes this is the only opportunity you get, but we'll see. The other interesting players, Straka played well again. So we'll see whether or not that carries over to this week. But your top pick, well, not your top pick as far as your picks, but your top pick result-wise was Benjamin Taylor. And he finished 5th. So what's up with Benjamin Taylor? Again, why did you like him? And what do you think about him and his future? What is it about him that you like?
So he's a good ball striker. I remember looking at that last week. He kind of consistently gains both off the tee and approach. The reason I liked him was because I think he was like the 2nd or 3rd best Bermuda putter in the field last week. And he putted excellent last week. That's kind of what had him in the mix. So we'll see. I mean, he's someone to keep an eye on. I believe he's in the field this week. I don't think he has a chance, but as we, continue to get some of these weaker fields, especially like if Ben Taylor plays Valspar in a couple weeks, which is going to be Bermuda grass again, and a weaker field, he's someone to keep an eye on again there.
Now, this story came out about this new format. Now, I'm assuming this is in the winter about mixed team golf. And because I know it's not during the regular season. Now, I'm okay with that because, and I'll tell you this, I said this last year. I'm not sure if you were on the air yet. I said, I know Jan was, and we talked about, because I just despise what they've done with the Zurich Classic. Despise it.
Yeah.
I think it's a wasteful week. It's, to me, I don't even watch it. It's not on any of our, we don't do it with fantasy, with our rules. I just want nothing to do with the Zurich Class. It's an embarrassment that they put this together, and I'm glad they don't have any points or anything like that. If you want to go ahead and, I don't know what they do with money and stuff, fine, but
I think we got to pick it for one and done, though.
No, I don't think we do.
I think so. I think so. I'll look it up or
I
not.
don't think I saw that
In years past, we have.
Yeah, no, I don't think I saw that in there. So, it's. I said, hey, you know what? What I would prefer, if you're going to do this, why don't you have a mixed golf? Then I'll tune in and watch it. But just to watch team golf in the middle of your PGA Tour season, it's dumb. So just mix it. Maybe if it goes well, and again, I don't know when it's starting, maybe this year, next year, and if it goes well, then maybe they'll do that. Maybe they'll because I don't know I haven't looked at the numbers, but I have to believe that Zurich Classic gets probably as bad numbers as you're going to get on the schedule during the season. So maybe if mixed golf does good, whenever it starts to play, it can transfer over to Zurich Classic. Because, sorry, I think it's a terrible idea, and I don't see any reason in the world why they want to keep it up. So, all right. Now, as far as one and done this week, so we have a much better crop of players to choose from, and I've already made my pick. So I put Scotty Scheffler. I'm going to use him this week, and I just figure it's a good week to take him. He's playing really well. He has, I believe, 7 straight top 15s, and 3 of those are top 5s. He's got the win at Phoenix, and by the way, let's remember he defended his championship at Phoenix, just like he's trying to do this week at Arnold Palmer. He's coming off at 12th at Genesis. So I think this is a good week to take him. There were a few other events, obviously, to look at, like the U.S. Open and so forth. But this is, I think, as big as a money event as they're going to be. So why not take Scheffler?
Yeah, outside of the players, this is another $20 million purse. So it's the same as Waste Management and the Genesis were the previous few weeks. The players next week is $25 million. That's the highest.
And it should be, because not only of the event, but it's also, as we said before, it's a very difficult event to handicap.
For sure, yeah, and this is too. All these Florida courses are tough to handicap because of the water, and this week especially the wind can be a major factor here. I was looking at the early forecast. We're still a few days out, so I don't know how much to trust it yet. But it looks like Friday is going to be crazy windy, which really ratchets up the volatility at an event like this.
Well, might have to look at then if there's a time that it's going to be windy.
Yeah, it's definitely worth, I know I like trying to get bets in on Monday because I think those are the best numbers, but events like this, I think sometimes it might make sense to wait till Wednesday night to get the most accurate forecast and see what the tee times, and if there is an advantage. I think that's something to consider. But if I'm going to the top of the board this week for one and done, it would be Scheffler for me. Bermuda is his best putting surface, as you said. He won here last year. He came 15th here in his debut in 2020. I don't know if I want to use a super elite here because it is such a volatile course. Again, if Scheffler hits a couple bad irons on Thursday that find the water, he could be fighting the cut line in an event like this, where I feel like at another course, he's a safer bet just because there's not so much trouble to be had out there.
The way I'm going to start playing this now, unless it changes, it could change this week, like you said. And I mentioned this with the event at Genesis with Rahm beating Homa. I just get the feeling that now that all this money's out there in these big money events, that the top players are going to be looking at these events just almost as big as majors. They're going to be focused in. This is what they want to do. They want to win these things. And so that's why I'm like, you know what? All right. That's why I was like, all right, you know what? I'm going to play Scheffler because I think that out of some of the other events, I think it's going to be. I mean, look, if he's going to defend another championship, this might be a little bit easier to
Yeah.
defend than the Masters.
Mhm.
And then like Memorial, I was thinking about, and also, but BMW so far late in the season. And a U.S. Open, yes, but U.S. Open, I'm still kind of wondering about whether or not I'm kind of still holding on with Max Homa about a possible U.S. Open deal there. But again,
Yeah.
there's a lot of money at stake here this week. So,
By the way, a little off topic here, and I should check if it's still available. But last week, Homa was still listed at 35-1 for the U.S. Open
oh, okay.
on FanDuel. So I actually made that bet. So
You know
I
what?
have
I
Homa.
thank you for that because I did not even think about that. You're
Yeah,
right. I should check that out.
yeah, I should. Yeah, as we're talking, I can see if it's still out there. But as of last week, FanDuel still had Homa 35-1. He's like 20 or 25-1 everywhere else.
Oh, okay.
So
Yeah.
um,
Where is it? This
yeah,
is in Orlando, right? This week?
Yes, Bay Hill's in Orlando. Yep.
Go ahead. You were going to say something?
Yeah, as far I totally agree with you about these elevated events and the elites coming to play here and being strong bets. But we have 11 tournaments this season with a $20 million prize pool. So can't use them everywhere. So I think in some of these elevated events, we do have to go down the board a little bit at least.
Okay, so what we're seeing right now as far as the forecast at this point in time, as we're recording it on a Monday night, is that, and like you said, it could change the next couple of days. The winds, and this is normal, that the winds will pick up in the afternoon. So
Both days, Thursday and Friday.
no, just on Friday.
Okay.
Because the
So
Friday one
PM.
is the up to 20 to 30.
Yep.
With higher
So
gusts.
if that's the case, you'd want guys teeing off Thursday PM.
Yes. So that is definitely
Friday.
going to now be something to look at. When the tee times come out Tuesday, right?
Yep, tomorrow. Yeah, Tuesday afternoon usually.
All right. So fingers crossed. Since I already, I could change my pick, but I need to decide exactly.
Yep.
So we want Thursday PM.
Yeah.
And Friday,
Yeah, and I'm considering Scheffler for one and done too. Two other guys I'm considering. I guess three other guys I'm considering. And two of them are bets for me, so we'll talk about them. But Sungjae Im and Terrell Hatton, I'm considering, and then I'm also considering Victor Hovland, who came second here last year. Those are those three plus Scheffler are the four I'm considering at this point.
Yes, I like Hovland and Hatton. Hatton I took when he won here, so I have a little bit of experience there, and like you said. And look, but bottom line is his experience here, not just the win, but he's got 3 top fives and 6 appearances. He was runner-up last year, which went to prove how good he could still be here, just not one win. And he is starting to play better now. We talked about a month or so ago about how he was still kind of in a funk. Last year wasn't all that great, but now he has 6 top 15s in his last 9.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah,
Hovland
had the runner-up last year. The only problem with Hovland is I would favor Hatton. The only problem with Hovland is just the fact that, as we talked about many times before with him, he hasn't won the big events, and the runner-up last year was his only really good made cut there. So it wasn't like he's got a lot of the type of experience there, and he doesn't have a top 10 in his last 4 events.
Yeah, he is striking it well. He's gained strokes off the tee in 3 straight, gained strokes on approach in each of his last 2. It's just been putting in around the green, which tends to be the problem with Hovland. It could definitely be an issue here. Man, this is like Bay Hill is definitely a course where you need to be hitting it well off the tee and with your irons. Like you can't fake it here with just putting. And as far as ball striking goes, I do think Hovland's one of the 10 best in the world.
And look, I like him. I'll put money on him this week. I'll put money on Hatton, and I'm also the thing that I don't like about him is I don't like the direction. I don't like it when players trend in the wrong direction. And he has, if you look at it, in the 4 events he's played there, 9 under, 2 under, 1 under, 3 over. Is steadily gone the opposite way.
Well, last year here was insane. I don't remember. The weekend was super windy both days.
Sure.
I don't know. What did Scheffler win it at? Was it -4?
5, I think.
5, yeah.
Yeah, that was.
Yeah, we'll talk about Sungjae because I did bet him, so we'll talk about him.
And in his last 2 events too, he hasn't really been on his game. But yeah, matter of fact, I had Hovland as a potential pick. But yeah, I mean, as far as the one and dones, those are the ones. Again, Scheffler, we both agree there. And I don't know. I get the feeling you're gonna go with Hatton too.
You might be right.
That's my feeling there. All right, now let's turn our attention to our picks this week, and that means, as we always let everybody know, it's brought to you by PlaybookSports.com. You can check out the Playbook Sports, which is actually called the Playbook Experts YouTube channel with Mark Lawrence, Hall of Fame handicapper. He has his shows every Wednesday. It's basketball season, so it's tons of college and NBA basketball. Matter of fact, Mark and I are going to be doing a lot of college basketball talk. We already started on last week's show on this channel, but check out his channel, Playbook Experts. And if you're into sports gambling, outside of golf, but if you're into sports gambling in general, definitely check out Mark and also Playbook Sports because of the fact that he's got some great handicapping tools, guides, newsletters, especially for March Madness. I mean, you check out the March Madness guide. It's just awesome. And it's one of those deals where you sort of like when we handicap golf with the information we have, and before we had it, we didn't realize how much information we didn't have. One of those things,
Yeah.
you know?
Yes.
And then you say to yourself, well, I can't bet on this stuff without it now. Because I feel like I'm just guessing, you know. So anyway, that's how it is with Mark and his company. So check that out. All right, so let's first of all go through some of the trends I have for the event, and because they've been playing at Bay Hill forever, so we don't have to worry about any different golf course situations. How about this? I don't think this might be the longest streak on any golf course, any event. There has not been a playoff at Bay Hill since 1999. How crazy is that? That's like what,
crazy.
24 years? That's
crazy, and I have no reasoning for it.
No,
it
because
seems like it's probably just
7 of the last 9 events are decided by 1 stroke.
Yeah, we're getting a playoff this year.
Oh yeah, that'd be nice. Yeah, unless Scotty Scheffler's in it. That might be good, but it might be bad because I don't want to have to deal with what you dealt with last week.
It's fun.
It is. It's fun when you win. When you lose, you get pissed. 6 of the last 7 winners. Here's this thing I noticed. I did this. I did because I also, I don't know about you, but because I know you have all of your information that you go on, your stats. I don't go the stat route as much, but what I'll do is I'll check some stats, not like you do, but I'll just check out a little bit just to say, hey, how have, say, the last 10 years been with the winners, and like they've been good in statistical putting and so it's similar to what you do, but kind of like a watered down. So the one stat that I noticed that kind of worked was 6 of the last 7 winners ranked in the top 10 in strokes gained total that same year. But that's end of the year. Still, it's telling you that you better be good at strokes gained total if you're going to win here. And that is definitely something that I found out, which is really why a lot of the players I'm going with this week are good in that category. And the other thing, before we get into some of the other stats and trends and stuff, is that if you're, and I'm not worried about a 2-time winner, and this is one of the reasons, because there have only been 19 individual winners in the last 29 years. Tiger won it 8 times. Ernie Els, Every, and Lauren Roberts won it twice. So you do have multiple winners besides Tiger. So why not any of the? So Hatton, Jason Day, Scheffler. Don't worry about back-to-back or 2-time winners here, because it could definitely happen.
How about Matt Every winning this twice?
That was crazy,
how did that
wasn't
happen?
it?
Yeah, well, he's is he Australian? Oh.
No, I think he's American.
Oh, he is American?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. Well, I mean, I know a big trend here is non-Americans winning at Bay Hill.
Yes, internationals.
Which which to me speaks to the wind factor. I think the
Absolutely.
internationals tend to be better in the wind, and tends to be windy at this course.
5 of the last 7 international players, but the last 2 were Americans.
Yep.
So DeChambeau and Scheffler. How about this? Not a surprise. 11 of the last 16 winners are major champs, including 4 of the last 5. So again, not a surprise. You got to be a really good, mentally tough player to win here. The last 27 winners ranked inside the top 100. Now that's still surprising. You would think at some point, now Matt Every was in the 90s, but you would think at some point some crazy win would happen here. 27 years. Now again, keeping in mind Tiger's got 8 of those, but still, that's quite a bit. And strangely enough, 10 of the last 13 winners did not rank inside the top 10 before winning here, but 5 of the last 7 were ranked in the top 15. Again, Scheffler won last year, and he was in the top 10. No player has won on his first appearance here since Robert Gomez in 1990. So you can kind of forget about first appearances here at this golf course. It's way too tough, and the field is just way too tough as well now. The last, 7 of the last 8 first-time winners made at least 4 prior appearances here before winning. Again, not a surprise. You better know the golf course. Scheffler winning last year, only his second appearance. The last 8 first-time winners made a previous top 25 here before winning, including 5 of the last 6 that made a previous top 5. So not just, you don't want to just come here, but you want to have some sort of positive experience when you play here. So again, that's also not really that strange, because you can tell the theme is basically tough golf course, very competitive, with Arnold Palmer's name. And when he used to be here, the top players would want to show up if they could. So it's always a tough competitive field. All right, now let's move on to your stats. So let me show the stats. And again, I'm going to pop you off here a second as I flick them on the screen here. So as usual, we've got the top 10 course history the last 5 years, so the viewers can see that. We also, this week, have the Bermuda putters strokes gained the last 2 years, and top 10 proximity, 200-plus yards the last 12 months. So you want to check that out. Just go ahead and pause the screen as we bring Jared back. So we know the tournament history, those are given. So talk about the other 2.
Yeah, I know we talked about the Bermuda putters last week, but that was obviously in a much weaker field. So we have some new names here with Sam Burns being the standout. I mean, you get Sam Burns on Bermuda greens, and I think he's always in play. He, of course, won the Valspar last year, it was, I believe, right?
Yep.
So, he's
won
someone
the last
I definitely
2, hasn't he?
consider.
No, he's won 2 out of 3, or 2 last 2.
2 out of 3, I think. Yeah.
Either that or the last 2, I can't remember.
Yes, I mean, I considered a bet on Burns just because we're in Florida here, and he's excellent there.
And he was 9th here last year.
Yes, yeah. Now, we can talk about him later. Yeah. He's just been inconsistent ball striking. That's kind of why I did not get to him, but I think he's a play. Yeah. I wanted to bring up a couple guys who, actually 3 semi-elite players, like top-end players that are really bad Bermuda putters. Justin Thomas is 100th in this field on Bermuda greens. Patrick Cantlay is 106th. And Cantlay is especially surprising because he's a good putter in general, but he does his best work on bent grass and POA. He is not a good Bermuda putter. And then Colin Morikawa is 123rd in this field on Bermuda greens. I think there's like 125 or 126 players in this entire field. So
what are the other events on Bermuda greens?
So all these Florida courses are Bermuda. There's some Bermuda, like I think like the Amex and even like Waste Management is officially a Bermuda, but it's like Bermuda mixed with other types of grasses. I'm not a grass expert, but it's basically these Florida courses, and some of these other, like Heritage is also Bermuda. These courses in the southeast.
Okay. And the other one? The other stat?
Top 10 proximity from 200-plus yards. So you get a lot of long approaches at this course. 29% of approaches at Bay Hill come from 200-plus yards. The tour average is 23%. So it's quite a bit higher than usual. It's just a long golf course. There's a lot of all 4 par 3s here are 200 plus yards. So, these long irons are more important this week than usual. So that's something I looked at and considered when making my bets this week.
Okay. By the way, where's the FedEx St. Jude? Is that it's Tennessee still?
Is that one they move around?
Yeah,
or
they
is
moved that.
at,
I think that's the one
yeah.
in Tennessee. I think so. And
is it like TPC Southwind?
I was just bringing it up because I know Morikawa is not bad there. But what about the Masters? What kind of greens do they have? They're in the southeast, but is it Bermuda or is it something different?
I think it's bent. I want to say. Let me.
There's no in the Masters, of course. They're special.
All right.
So they're not going to be like everybody else.
Yep.
No matter what the region.
All right. Augusta, I believe it's bent grass.
Okay. And let's see. So taking a look at those, a compilation. You mentioned Burns with the Bermuda. By the way, Ben Taylor's on there. But Matthew Fitzpatrick and Tyrrell Hatton. So those are two that, as we're going to get into, these are definitely two that you want to be considering this week. Could definitely be picks for sure. Now here's an interesting thing. So you got Morikawa third on proximity, 200 plus yards. Poor on Bermuda. So what would you prefer going into an event if you want to have the golfer have hey, you know what? I'm just going to wind up having a good week on a particular issue that is in my game.
Mm-hmm.
Which one would you rather have? Which one would you think you'll have the easier chance of overcoming, the proximity to 200 or the putting?
I think definitely putting. That's more variable from week to week. And with Morikawa specifically, I'm always going to bet on his ball striking being excellent. One of the 5 or 10 best in the entire field. I'm trying to just find the week where he putts decently. I think it's more likely he's going to putt decently, not on Bermuda grass. Even look at Morikawa at this event. He's come 64th in 2018, 9th in 2020. The ball striking was okay in 18, really good in 2020. He lost 7.6 strokes putting in 2018. He lost 2.4 strokes putting in 2020. So
he did improve his last time.
He improved. Yeah. He improved. I mean, it's still going to be tough.
You got to nitpick
when you lose.
You got to nitpick these stars.
Exactly.
I mean, that's what the whole deal is. Yep. It doesn't mean he's not going to win. It just means that when we're trying to figure out, like you were saying with Thomas too, you're trying to figure out what these Achilles heel is of these players. It just, that's what it is. It's stats. And sometimes you can just explode your head with too much information. And that's why you try not to do too much information, but that's why you bring 2 or 3 to the table. I'll bring a few trends, and then the rest of it, you shouldn't be going on just graphs and doing all this 15, 20 different. I mean, that's just going way too crazy. You might as well be a computer expert.
Well, I mean, just to give Fantasy National a plug, which is what I use for all this stuff. I do factor in anywhere from 8 to 12 variables every week, and
that's what I do with my trends.
Synthesizes them. Sure. Yeah, it synthesizes them and spits out a total ranking. I'm looking at right now of how the players rank based on everything I'm looking at this week. So Fantasy National is really good for that if you're into that type of stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's just like anything. I mean, these are handicapping tools. You use them. You don't be religious about them. But the most important thing, too, is if you do this and you're a big fan and you handicap every week, you got to use your gut. You got to use your feel. And the stats definitely help with that because, I nowadays, to tell you the truth, when I handicap stuff, I don't look at anything. I don't look at the odds and the player and then go, okay, this is what I like, and then look at the stats. You watch it so much, the golf every week, that you already have this built-in kind of feeling about whether a player is playing well or not, and you like certain players and other players, and individually, it, and we talk about it, that we have specific players that whenever we pick them, they don't do well, or whenever we pick a player, they do well. So everybody's different in that department too. So.
Yeah, I like what you said about. I think stats are best used to eliminate guys more than pick them. And especially in events like this with a loaded field, like you're looking for reasons to cross guys off the top of the board because you can't bet all of them.
Yep.
So, I love Morikawa. I'm always looking for reasons to bet Morikawa, but I crossed him out this week just because of his struggles on these type of greens. So that's kind of how I use this stuff.
All right, well, let's talk about the favorites. And you've got the three at the top, Rahm, McIlroy, and Scheffler. And Rahm is going to be the favorite at this point because of the way he's playing. The question, though, is, especially when you have a bunch of other players in the field that are really good and are playing well, it's just that, you just can't keep winning. Can you win? Can he win at the next couple? One of the next couple of events? Sure. Could he win this week or next week? Sure. He ain't winning the next 2 weeks. I mean, I went over all that information last week on the show about the different historical runs that players have had. Well, he's kind of reached that. He's kind of reached the limit. I mean, if he winds up winning one of these next 2 weeks, we're talking like historical Tiger Woods stuff. So I don't know whether or not he has that in him, especially because he's only been here once. And that was last year compared to these other players. But he is just going through, you wonder too, is he too hot too early in the season with all the big majors coming up?
Yeah, I mean, if there's one thing that can slow Rahm down right now, it might be Florida golf because he has not had much success in Florida throughout his career so far. Bermuda greens, that's his worst surface.
Okay.
You kind of look at the results at Arnold Palmer, at least last year, the ball striking was unbelievable, but he lost 4 strokes putting. If he had putted average, he might have won this thing. He came 17th despite the bad putting. So, I think getting away from the West Coast is enough to get me off John Rahm at his odds 6.5 to 1 or whatever they are now.
And we talked about Scheffler. Now Rory, I don't know. I was a little bit more confident with Rory a few weeks ago, but at this point, he hasn't put it together yet here on the PGA Tour. We referenced that, I think it was a couple weeks ago, that it takes him a little while historically before but this event, now I don't know what week it was at the time he did it, but this was the earliest event that he's ever won on the PGA Tour, and he won it in 2018. He does have 8 top 30s in 8 events here. He's never missed a cut. 5 top 10s, 3 top 5s. So he's still a very good option in fantasy. And I also think he's a good option in one and done if you want to take the chance with him. It all depends on how you feel about whether or not you believe that he's going to put it all together this week.
He's definitely a good one and done option. I don't know how popular he's going to be. I think the course history might make him one of the more popular picks.
Maybe.
But yeah, he's been awesome here. He is a good Bermuda putter. He's much better on Bermuda than he is on POA, which is what we were on in California for the most part. Even at Genesis, he finished 29th, but he was 9th in the field tee to green. He just putted really poorly. So it's not like the ball striking was bad. So I don't think there's anything wrong with Rory. Now, like you said, he's back on a course that he really likes.
Yeah, so he's going to be – the thing is you got these 3 guys that are so low odds-wise that even if you take one of them, which, by the way, since I did. I mean, I actually put in my picks this week, Scheffler is my top pick. I put half of my money on him. So I put 50 on Scheffler this week, and that's kind of what you got to do with, and you can't take 2 of them. That's just crazy. But even taking one of them is kind of tough to do because there were some good bargains that we're going to get into in just a little bit. So let's talk about a few of those, and because taking a look at your picks, your first pick overall isn't until 25 to 1, but it's not that it's going to take us a whole lot of time to get there. But it's just those are that there are some really good players that we're going to talk about here in just a little bit that have pretty good odds there. But right after the top 3. We go with actually, the odds have come down just a little bit since we made our picks, but just by about 5 points. You have Zalatoris, Morikawa, Schauffele, Finau, Cantlay, Homa, and Justin Thomas are kind of in that 20 to 25 to 1 group. So might as well start with your top pick, and that's Zalatoris. One of your top favorite golfers. You wanted
Yeah.
to see him have a good week. He had a heck of a week 2 weeks ago at Genesis, finishing fourth. The only thing, and we talked about this when he did it, is does he need time off? So he has a week off. Does he need more than a week off? I don't know. Maybe not.
Yep.
But he does have a 10th place in 2 appearances here.
Yeah, I mean, I think as I had said on earlier shows, I was just sort of waiting on a sign from Willie Z that he's healthy again. And I mean, it's just one tournament, but he was excellent at Genesis. Gained 3.9 strokes both off the tee and on approach. So that's a healthy Zalatoris performance. He's actually a slightly positive Bermuda putter, so that's good news. He's actually gained putting in like 6 straight events now. So I know there's all this talk about his putting stroke. Oh. And it looks bad from time to time on those short ones, but he's gained in like 6 or 7 straight tournaments. Like you said, 10th and 38th here the last 2 years. And as I say all the time, I like Will Zalatoris on tough golf courses. He is 4th in this field on difficult golf courses over the last 2 years.
So, are you surprised at all that he's a co-4th choice?
Yeah, he is a super popular bet this week. I woke up this morning and he was 30-1, and I bet him immediately. And then he was 28-1. Then he was 25-1. Now he's 22-1, I think. So I'd still bet him at 22-1. It's not as good as 30-1, but I'd still bet him at 22.
Okay. So, but were you surprised? Like right now, do you surprised that he's a co-4th choice?
I think that's where he belongs. I mean, you can argue Justin Thomas over him or Xander Schauffele over him, but I think he's right in that mix. I think it's fair.
All right. Then we can go on to some of these others, and we didn't have any of these on our picks, just so you know. But the one player that was the reason I did not put Colin Morikawa in my picks was only because of the fact that I decided to go all in on Scheffler. Otherwise, I would have gone in with both Morikawa and Max Homa. So because I was going to go, it was either going to be those two without Scheffler or Scheffler, and I decided to go all in on Scheffler. So now again, we spoke about Morikawa, so we don't really have to go too much more into what he's done. So Homa. 3 top 25s in 3 appearances, which is solid. 10th a couple years ago. Coming up a 2nd at Genesis. 8 top 25s in his last 9. 5 top 5s, a runner-up, and 2 wins. He's got what you want coming in here. We talked about that. He's, 3rd in strokes gained. And, I put money on him. And we are... Look, it's not that he hasn't won outside of California, the West Coast, or Arizona. He has. But now, and Wells Fargo is a pretty tough event. It's usually a pretty good field.
Yep.
But we're still kind of, I think we kind of feel he's going to come through and do something else, whether it's a major or one of these types of events. And I think he's a strong play this week.
He is, and Homa's a guy that I think he opened this morning at like 18-1, and he's sort of gone in the opposite direction.
Strange.
I don't know where you have him at, but I've seen him at 22.
Yeah, I had him at
some
18
places. Yeah. So I mean, I have no issue with Homa at 22-1, like you said. Has a good course history here. He is an otherworldly putter on POA. He's still a really good putter on other surfaces, including Bermuda. He's 18th in this field as a putter on Bermuda. He's 6th in this field on difficult golf courses. So, I mean, everything lines up. I would have no issue betting Homa at 20 or 22-1.
We have to find out what kind of greens are in that U.S. Open.
Oh, it's POA.
Oh, it is.
It's POA.
Okay.
Yeah, it's LA. It's POA.
Oh, it's LA. It's POA. That's how it is. Okay, cool. That works. I feel good about that.
Yeah.
All right. So you also have Justin Thomas and Cantlay are also in this mix, and Cantlay. Look, we just talked about it. First time appearances. It's just no matter how good you are, it's not going to be easy. He's never played here. He's coming off a very strong 3rd at Genesis, though. But still, there's so many other talented players here. I just can't go with a guy that's never seen a golf course before.
Yeah, and the fact that he's chosen not to play here tells me he just doesn't think it's a great fit for his game. And as we said, the Bermuda putting thing backs that up. Like, he's just not a good Bermuda putter. And Cantlay he's a good ball striker, but he relies on that putter, when he wins when he competes. So yeah, that was enough for me to make him a cross off this week.
And then Thomas, if you take a look at his history here, once 2015, another player, maybe like Cantlay, that's like, yeah, I played here, it just doesn't fit my game. He's just been okay. 5 straight top 25s is okay. Couple top 5s, 20th at Genesis, but he's not dialed in yet.
No. No, I mean, he was really good at waste management when he came forth. Off the tee and approach was excellent. Otherwise, Century, Farmers, Genesis, the ball striking just has not been up to JT level. So, you know, JT's a guy where, like we were saying with Zalatoris, like I want to see an event where he's, you know, peak JT form before I consider betting him at this type of number.
And let's remember, he wasn't good career-wise at Genesis, just okay. He was real good at Phoenix. So I think that's how we have to play him, is wait for the next time he's at a golf course that he's good at before even thinking of taking him.
Yes, if he shows signs of life this week, I think he'll be an interesting bet at the Players if we can get him at, you know, 20 or 22 to 1.
Finau, not particularly good here. Just one top 30 with 2 missed cuts, even though he's still going through a nice stretch of 11 top 20s in his last 13. But no reason to take him this week. He just hasn't had a good experience this year.
Yeah, Xander's the one guy I considered betting in this range, just because, as usual, he's just been super consistent. Like, he's gained off the tee and on approach in all 4 of his starts so far this season. Came 3rd at the Amex, 13th at Farmers, 10th at Waste Management, just 33rd at Genesis. But again, even in Genesis, the irons were awesome. Now he's only played here once.
Yeah.
That was back in 2020. So he's another guy that I'm like, you know, I don't know, maybe he just doesn't think it's the best place for his game, and he's only playing here this year because it is one of the elevated events.
That's
so
true.
You know, that's why I ended up not betting Xander.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting because Scheffler had only played here once.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Did not play in 2021. Came back anyway last year and won. So, but he was 15th, which was still okay. Schauffele was 24th in 2020. Okay, now we come out of that group and we go to the next group. And these are players like around 28 to 1 to 35 to 1. They include Jason Day, Victor Hovland, Tyrrell Hatton, Sung J M, Matt Fitzpatrick, and Cameron Young. These are the bargains. These are the guys that you definitely want to be keeping an eye on this week. We'll start with M. Because you mentioned him already. He's your second choice at 35 to 1. So go ahead. Why do you like him this week?
Yeah, I felt obligated to bet Sungjae because he came in first in my model for this event, and that's factoring in.
Oh, you got to take somebody in that situation.
Yeah.
Sure,
it's factoring in, you know, like longer term, 12 months more than recent. Because as you said, he hasn't been great recently, but I mean, Sungjae is just a well-rounded player, which I think you need to be at a course like this. He is top 23 in this field off the tee, on approach, and around the green. He's 6th in proximity from 200-plus yards, which we talked about being important at this event. He is 11th on long par 3s. He's 6th best on long par 4s, 9th best in this field on difficult golf courses. And he's had good history at Bay Hill.
Yes.
Third in both of his first 2 appearances, then 21st and 20th. You know, not amazing the past 2, but still solid. And then his Bermuda is also his best putting service. I think we even talked about it last week that, you know, Sungjae in Florida is a bet I like to make. His 4 events this season, he just hasn't been able to put it all together yet. He was great off the tee the last 2 weeks at Genesis and Honda. He was great on approach the 2 weeks before that at Farmers and Waste Management. He just hasn't put those 2 things together in the same tournament yet.
Yeah, because
he's flashed the ability to do it recently. So if he can have a week where he's good off the tee and on approach, then I think, you know, especially on a Bermuda course, Sungjae, I think I like the value at 35 to 1.
And other values, matter of fact, I have 2 of my picks here: Jason Day and Matthew Fitzpatrick. Jason Day is actually my second choice, and I think, sort of like what you're saying with Thomas here, and we talked about that with Fowler a few weeks ago. I forget which event, and we're doing it with Day too, because Day did not have historically good appearances at Genesis. Played well. Matter of fact, in his 4 events this year, 18th, 7th, 5th, and 9th. So he's dialed in. He's coming off the 9th at Genesis at a place that he's not played well. And he's, even though he doesn't have more than one top 10 here, which was his win in 2016, he does have 5 top 25s and 11 appearances. So I figured, yeah, I think at this price, I'm going to roll the dice because we both, I would have taken him this week, but it's like, you know what? I've taken some of these guys already for the past 2 or 3 weeks. I'm just going I'm going with one of the big guys this week. But I would definitely have taken a chance with Jason Day in a one and done this week.
Yeah, I mean, he's been awesome in all 4 starts this season. He's driving the ball well. He's gained off the tee in all 4 of his starts this season, and he's back to being like the best putter on planet Earth. Like, he's gaining a ton of strokes putting. He has a good Bermuda putter. He's been a good putter at this course. He's gained in 7 of 8 appearances at Bay Hill on the greens. So he obviously likes these greens. Day's going to win this year. I'm convinced of it. Whether it's at an elevated event, I'm not sure. But I think he's going to win this year.
I think so.
Could be. He's won big tournaments before.
Yeah, he plays like this and doesn't have any injury setbacks. He's too good not to win at one of these events. So the question's going to be if we can hit him at the right time on a one and done situation. That's for sure. Okay, and then my other pick in this group is Fitzpatrick at 35-1. Now he's not. His game isn't rounded into form yet. That's the thing I'm a little bit concerned with. Last 3 events, he's missed 2 cuts. But he's been very good at this golf course. This is a good course for him. Horse for courses kind of guy. Yeah, he's missed a couple of cuts here, but he's got 5 top 15s, 4 top 10s, and a runner-up here. And his last 4 years, 9th, 10th, 9th, and 2nd. So he has been excellent here. And I just kind of feel like at 35-1. Now, if he's 25-1 or 20-1, I'm not taking him. But at 35-1, because I had my eye on him all year here. And so I was a little bit worried about how he's played. But sort of like you with Sung Jae Im, I'm gonna disregard how he's coming in here.
Yeah, he has been dealing with the neck issue. I know that cropped up at Pebble, and then I think it was an issue at Genesis when he missed the cut. But definitely a great course for Fitzpatrick. He's a great Bermuda putter, 5th in this field. He's gained every time he's played Bay Hill. He's gained on the greens, and he's gained a ton of strokes in 4 of his 8 appearances. He's also a really good wind player.
Yes.
So if it does get windy, I think that's good news for Fitzpatrick. So. Yeah, I do think at 35-1, you're getting a little bit of a discount for the fact that he just hasn't been great recently.
Hatton. Now, this is, again, one of your top plays. And Hatton, if you take, we went over his whole deal there. And just let's keep in mind, he's got 6 top 15s in his last 9, including a runner-up, coming off a 40th at the Genesis. So, again, because of what you're getting in value with these odds, you have to play him in some fashion this week.
Yeah, I think 40-1's decent value. I think it's probably bumped up a bit because of the course history, which is awesome. But even if he wasn't good here, he'd probably be 45 or 50-1. So I'm fine, taking him at 40-1 with the course history. He's an awesome Bermuda putter. He was just okay at the Genesis last time out, but 2 starts back at Waste Management, gained 4.2 strokes off the tee and 6 strokes on approach. So he was excellent ball striking there. So if he can get that back at a course where he always putts well, and has obviously won before, as you said, came in 2nd last year. He was, I think he was like in the driver's seat for most of Sunday last year, and I think Scheffler got him pretty late. But he obviously, has a good history here, likes it here, so I think 40-1's a good number for Hatton.
And Cameron Young, you just don't know when it's going to happen, but he's going to win at some point. This is a week that it could happen. He's been playing reasonably well. 20th at Genesis, 13th here last year. So, Spieth is 40-1. It's too many good players. He's not playing well. I can't imagine. I'm even surprised, to tell you the truth, that he's 40-1. He could be. I don't know why anybody would take him this week when there's so many other players that are playing better than him right now. I guess the only thing is that he was 4th here in his only appearance in 21.
So weird. Spieth forgot how to putt. I mean, I'm just looking at his numbers. Like the ball striking's actually been pretty solid, but he's been consistently losing on the greens. So
Hey, it could all come together in 1 week.
yeah, I'm not a Spieth guy. I rarely bet him. But if he continues to hit it well, I think I'll be interested in him at Augusta in about a month.
And I would think that his odds would be a little low on that, though.
Too low,
Yeah,
probably. Yeah,
probably.
probably right.
But we'll see. 50. You got guys in now the long shot areas, the 50 to 1s. You got Tom Kim. Now Burns is here. Mitchell, Matsuyama. Bring those. We talked about Burns. So now you didn't pick him. Well, why didn't you pick him?
I just could. I can't bet too many guys. That's the
Okay.
only reason. He was like right there. He was like one of the last guys.
Well,
that
you took Matsuyama over him.
I did.
So why did you do that?
If they were the same odds, I probably would have leaned towards Burns, but getting the extra points on Matsuyama, both those guys, and we can talk about Hideki next, but Burns and Hideki, ball striking wise, have been inconsistent so far this season. Now, I think both guys have the ceiling. Like if they bring their A game,
Sure.
like I think both guys can win this, which is what I'm looking for, especially this far down the board. It is another event where I don't think you should be betting many guys beyond 40 or maybe 50 to 1.
Yeah, we talked.
But I do think Burns and Hideki have both proven that they can win PGA Tour tournaments when they have their A games.
Yeah, again, Burns did not play well here until last year. Finished 9th, coming up a miscut at Genesis. And then you have Matsuyama, who's made all 8 of his cuts here with 4 top 25s and 1 top 10. But again, this continues, no top 5s since the U.S. Open. So that's why he's 60 to 1, 70 to 1, whatever he is.
Yeah, I couldn't help myself. Hideki at 60 to 1. It feels wrong. And maybe it's not. Maybe he's kind of like past his prime and he's not going to be a top 20 player anymore. No. I don't know. I don't know. But yeah, like you said, 8 for 8 cuts made, 18th and 20th the last 2 years here. And if you look at like his stats at Bay Hill, he has gained off the tee and approach in 7 of his 8 appearances. He just has not figured out these greens. He's lost strokes putting in 6 of 8 appearances here. Bermuda is his worst putting surface, so that's the concern. But I just kind of hope you get a hot putting week. I do think there's a good chance that the ball striking is good enough to get him in the mix.
Yeah, I wonder what his personal life is like. I wonder if he's going through anything. Like, is he growing a family? That's something. Because is he just interested now in majors? Who knows?
Could be. Yep.
And by the way, the other guys now, Keith Mitchell. I didn't get him, but I almost put him. I couldn't fit him in my list, but I almost had him.
Yeah.
So he's played here 4 times. He's got 2 top 10s and a 5th place finish. He's got 2 top 5s in his last 3 on the PGA Tour. So the only thing was that I think I deserve a little bit more than 50 to 1 with Keith Mitchell.
That's exactly where I'm at. He was on my list of guys I want to look at when the odds come out on Monday morning. I was hoping for a 70 or 80. I just can't get to Mitchell at 50. But I mean, he, like you said, he's playing well and he's best in Florida. His 1 win came at the Honda. Bermuda is his best putting surface, so he's definitely in play. I don't like him at 50 to 1.
Now I did take instead I took Keegan Bradley because I was getting 75 to 1. Or in that range on Bradley. And Bradley coming in his last 2 years, 11th and 10th on this golf course. He's made 10 of 11 cuts, including 10 straight. He's got 4 top 15s, 2 top 5s, and a runner-up. He had the runner-up at Farmers Insurance last month. We talked about liking the way he's been playing so far. I figured at 75 to 1, that's the kind of guy that I want to take in this grouping.
Yep. Keegan was on my short list too. 5th in this field on difficult courses over the last 2 years. You have basically all the best players in the world in this field, and Keegan Bradley's 5th on tough courses. So I definitely like him. I think the tougher this plays, the windier it gets, probably the better for Keegan.
And you have Gary Woodland, who's been bouncing from 80 to 100 to 1 the last 24 hours. Woodland, and by the way, I was definitely thinking about him too because we talked about that last week about hoping he was going to play at Honda. It didn't because he's trending in the right direction, coming off the 9th at Genesis. He was 5th here last year. So you got that. He's got 4 top 30s and 7 appearances as well. So he's got that combination. Now he could miss the cut. And, oh, yeah, now he's not trending nowhere. He was maybe just good for a week. But,
Yep.
He's overdue. It's like, no, maybe he is trending in the right direction. And at this level of 80 to 100 to 1, it's worth the risk.
Yeah, and again, I think you want to be thoughtful about how you bet long shots this big. I don't think you want to be spending too much money on long shots. But I think someone like Woodland, who, the guy's won a major. Like, he's proven he can beat tough fields, even if it was, 4 or 5 years ago now. But, he obviously struggled all last year. I think he was dealing with an injury, but it seems like he's back now. Woodland has gained off the tee in 7 straight events. He's gained on approach in 3 straight and 4 of his last 5. As you said, he has the good event history here. And specifically, I think why he's so good here is he's a really good long iron player. Over the last 12 months, he's second in that proximity from 200-plus yards. And he's the best player in this field over the last 12 months on par 3s, 200-plus yards, which, again, all 4 of the par 3s on this course are 200-plus yards. So cool. That kind of explains why he's had some success here in the past.
Very nice. And then moving on, a few more of our picks. I have one more, and that's my big long shot. Might as well just talk about him. I'm just going right back again with Denny Willett at 200 to 1. I just think that's crazy. He should be more like 120 to 1 or something. But in some places, he's even more than 200 to 1. Anyway, I think his game is definitely improving. He was decent again last week. And remember, you got the combination. He's a major winner. He's an international guy. He's made a lot of appearances here, so he knows the golf course. He has a couple top 20s, and he's played pretty well the last few events, which is something we haven't seen from him in a while. So he's apparently healthy. That's the most important thing. And I figured, again, at that level, why not? All I got to do is put a buck on him on a sports book. I don't have to pay a lot to make a lot.
Yeah, kind of like Woodland, major winner. Willett is best on tough golf courses. He's best in windy conditions. He's better in windy conditions than he is in calm conditions relative to the rest of the field, obviously. So if there's a spot for him to sort of break through again, this looks like a good spot.
And then as far as any of the other players, let's see. The only other player that we did not talk about that I was going to put like a buck on was my boy Bezuidenhout again. Because he's played here 3 times, and he's finished in the top 20 all 3 times. Wow. So why not? He is at about 110 to 1. He's in that range.
Yeah, the 2 longer shots I considered. Again, I kind of wanted to just take one long shot, and I ended up going with Gary Woodland. But I did look at Tommy Fleetwood, who I think we mentioned. I was hoping he played at Honda because he has sort of been trending back in the right direction. Had the 20th place finish at Genesis. His last 4 at Bay Hill, 3rd place, missed cut, 10th place, and 20th place. Yep. So he's had some good history here. And then I also considered Corey Connors, who is just a really good ball striker, horrible putter. That's always the issue with him. But Bermuda is his best surface, relatively speaking. He's not a good Bermuda putter, but he's not as bad as he is on POA or Bent. And Connors came 11th here last year, and he came 3rd here in 2021, despite not putting well last year for that 11th place finish. So the ball striking's been good here each of the last 2 years. So, if you want to hope he finds a hot putter, I think Connors, he's like 75 or 80 to 1.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, the only thing with Connors is sort of like similar to Matsuyama. No top 5 since August. So that's in the last 2 events, 61st and 50th. So that was the only thing that discourages me about him, but everything else makes a lot of sense. Let's see if there's anybody else. Ricky's made 10 of 11 cuts here. He has 4 top 20s, 1 top 5. He's got 3 straight top 20s. So he's starting to play better. And as we said, Florida, maybe next week. He's won a TPC before. It's kind of going to be hard to win twice, but why not? I mean, he's probably going to be as good as a lot of other guys at TPC. He'll probably be like 50 to 1 next week.
Yeah.
So he may not be a bad play next week. I don't know anybody else that caught my eye. How about you?
I
Anyone
looked
else?
at Hoagie, as I always do. Just another guy, kind of like Connors, just a really good ball striker. Not the best putter. Let's see. Yeah, he's not a disaster on Bermuda greens, which is good news for Hoagie because he's a disaster putting a lot of other times. But he's been good at Bay Hill too. He's made the cut in 3 of the 4 appearances: 26th, 15th, and 32nd.
Okay.
His gained on approach in all 4. So same kind of mold as Connors. Like the ball striking is going to be there. You just got to hope he gets kind of lucky and has a good putting week.
And a couple other players of note. Power missed the cut last year, did not play well, 8 over, but he's got 8 straight top 25s with 3 top 5s and a win. 14th at Genesis. So he is at about 80 to 1. And the other guy was Nick Taylor, because Nick Taylor, the thing, if he had any problem is Nick Taylor's not going to have a lot of good experience anywhere because he's just not that good yet. His best ever end of year ranking is 136. He's now 71st in the world. He's got 4 straight top 35s. No, he's got 4 top 35s in his last 5. 3 of those are top 20. 2 of those are top 10s. The runner-up at Phoenix. So he's a guy that you probably, we want to take him like at Valspar, something like that.
Yeah. Yep.
But that's a guy I want to keep an eye on
for sure
because he's starting to play pretty well. And and overall, the other thing, as always, just want to remind everybody for live betting, because we are going to start getting involved more. It's not going to be a definite, like we can tell you, but because Jared's going away for a couple weeks?
Week and a half.
Week and a half. So when he gets back, especially with the big events, we might be doing some Friday night live betting, where we'll take a look at the action going into the final couple of days, and we'll be able to give you some options, as well as taking a look at the trends, which we've talked about before, round by round trends. I'm just going to quickly go through. There have only been 1 first round leader in the last 18 years that has gone on to win at Bay Hill. How crazy is that?
I was just going to say this. Without knowing the stats, this just feels like a good live betting event where you could have someone come from way behind, especially if the wind kicks up on the weekend.
That was Jason Day in 2016, by the way. The last 14 winners started the second round in the top 25. Only 2 second-round leaders in the last 10 years went on to win, Day and Tyrrell Hatton. Only 2 third-round leaders in the last 9 years went on to win. How about that? Jason Day and Tyrrell Hatton. Scotty Scheffler was the last winner to start the weekend outside the top 11 and win. And that was Tiger Woods back in 2008. And 24 of the last 25 winners started the final round in the top 4. Okay. Francesco Molinari was the one who broke that trend, starting 17th in 2019, 5 strokes back. So we hope we've given you a lot to chew on here for the players. For Arnold Palmer, Bay Hill, I've got players on my mind because that's what's coming up next. Jared and I will be talking about that actually in a few days. We're going to get a jump start a little early because of your vacation. And so really the only thing that we're probably not going to have are any sort of Bay Hill momentum to go into players.
All right.
But that's about it. But we're going to still, bottom line is we're going to have a lot of information for everybody, even though we're recording it a little earlier than normal. So we'll get that out probably a little earlier than normal too. Jared, enjoy your trip. Hopefully it's a safe one. And we'll talk to you again in a little while, in a few days when we preview the players. And then you're off for the Valspar, correct?
Yeah, I'll be off for the Valspar. I'll miss that.
That's not a tough
event.
one. Yeah,
can't miss the players, but I'll miss Valspar.
That's why we're gonna do what we can to get that one in. All right, Jared. Great job as always. Best of luck. Let's go 2 for 2, man. Let's keep this one and done streak going. You can't really consider one a streak, so let's start a streak. How about that?
Yeah, let's do it.
All
Thanks,
right.
Greg. See ya.
Talk to you next week.